What if I told you that while everyone was arguing about Bitcoin ETFs and Solana outages, the world's largest asset manager quietly built a $10 trillion tokenization empire using blockchain infrastructure so advanced it makes current DeFi look like a high school science project? 3 months ago, I was deep in regulatory filings at 3 a.m., because that's apparently my idea of a good time, when I stumbled across something that made me question everything I thought I knew about institutional crypto adoption. What I found wasn't just another partnership announcement or vague open blockchain exploration. This was a fully operational financial revolution, engineered in silence by BlackRock and powered by technology most crypto investors have never heard of. Today, I'm going to show you the most sophisticated institutional blockchain play in history, backed by concrete data that will blow your mind. We're talking about a network processing 1.5 million transactions daily with fees under 1 cent, bridging over 300 major banks, and quietly tokenizing billions in assets while retail chases meme coins. Buckle up, because by the end of this deep dive, you'll understand why smart money isn't betting on the loudest blockchain. They're building on the most boring one. Let me paint you a picture of how this revelation unfolded. Picture Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, managing $10 trillion in global assets, facing a crisis most people don't even realize exists. Traditional settlement systems are hemorrhaging money. We're talking $30 billion annually in operational inefficiency, according to BlackRock's own internal research published with the World Economic Forum. But here's where it gets interesting. While the crypto world obsessed over BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF applications, something far more significant was happening behind closed doors. Internal documents reveal that BlackRock issued a request for information through their Aladdin platform, specifically seeking blockchain infrastructure capable of supporting ISO 2022 Python-compliant messaging layers. Translation: they weren't looking for crypto exposure, they were hunting for crypto infrastructure capable of handling institutional-grade settlement with sub-second finality and programmable compliance controls. Every specification in their RFI perfectly describes one blockchain, XDC network. Now, before your eyes glaze over, let me explain why XDC's technical specifications matter for your portfolio. This isn't some theoretical blockchain promising to scale someday. We're talking about a live network that processes over 2,000 transactions per second with second finality and transaction fees averaging $0.1. To put this in perspective, while Ethereum charges $1.20 per transaction and Bitcoin manages 7 transactions per second, XDC delivers enterprise-grade performance at costs 4,700 times cheaper than Ethereum. That's not a typo. A $50 stablecoin transfer costs $0.93 on Ethereum versus $0.78 on XDC. This isn't some garage project. This is infrastructure built for institutional scale. The energy efficiency numbers will shock you. XDC consumes approximately 11.2 megawatt hours daily, compared to Bitcoin's 220 million. That's energy efficiency 10 million times greater than Bitcoin. Aligning perfectly with ESG requirements institutional investors must meet under regulations like the EU's Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation. Here's where most people miss the plot entirely. Everyone talks about blockchain adoption without understanding that institutions don't care about crypto, they care about messaging standards. ISBN 20022 is the global financial messaging protocol replacing SWIFT's legacy systems, adopted by over 11,000 institutions across 200-plus countries. The Federal Reserve's Fedwire Funds Service completed its migration to ISO 20022 on July 14, 2025, aligning America with Europe and Asia on a single messaging standard. XDC was architected from inception with native ISO 20022 compliance, eliminating translation layers that plague other blockchains. What this means in practice: When a bank needs to settle a tokenized asset, XDC can embed ISA 20022 payment instructions directly in the transaction payload, extract them via Oracle, and regenerate Swift-compatible messages for legacy systems. Industry analyses estimate this reduces operational processing times by up to 70%, compared to blockchains requiring custom midwell. The practical impact hit home during South Africa's central bank Project Hocker 2 trials. XDC passed compliance testing because auditors could pull PAX 009 status messages directly from on-chain events, while competing networks required custom bridges. Result? Real-time central bank money creation and retirement, with zero manual reconciliation. Now, let's connect the dots between BlackRock's public statements and their actual infrastructure choices. While media focused on the $520 million raised by BlackRock's BUIDL tokenized fund in its first month, here's the data point that matters. The UIDL represented 30% of all tokenized US Treasury bonds on-chain within weeks, overtaking established competitors. But here's what they didn't tell you. BlackRock's subsequent decision to expand BUIDL across multiple blockchains wasn't about diversification. It was about finding infrastructure that could handle institutional scale without Ethereum's cost volatility. Internal stress testing revealed that only XDC recorded average gas fees per settlement under 0.15 cents when processing institutional volumes. The stealth integration happened through partners. BlackRock's $47 million strategic investment in Securitize, the platform carrying BUIDL, seems routine until you realize Securitize's token standards and compliance modules are architecturally identical to XDC's infrastructure. This isn't coincidence. This is convergent engineering. JP Morgan's Onyx division provides another smoking gun. Their tokenized collateral network executed the first live OTC derivative settlement using tokenized BlackRock money market fund shares as collateral. While TCN operates as private blockchain, future iterations aim to interoperate with public Layer 1 rails for settlement finality. XDC's hybrid model serves perfectly as the public proof layer for TCN transactions. Let me blow your mind with adoption metrics most people never see. XDC's daily transaction count exploded from 200,000 in mid-2023 to over 2 million by July 2025. A 1,000% increase driven predominantly by real-world asset settlements, not speculative trading. The enterprise validation is staggering. The Deutsche Telekom operates masternode validators. SBI Holdings runs 33 active nodes supporting institutional staking. Over 60% of staked XDC is held by regulated financial institutions, custodial banks, and licensed token issuers, the highest institutional ownership ratio among major blockchains. Trade finance pilots demonstrates real impact. The Asia-Pacific Trade Finance Consortium, comprising 9 major banks including DBS, Standard Chartered, and NUFG, issued over $15 billion in tokenized receivables on XDC between 2023 and mid-2025. They reported 60% reduction in operational costs and 90% decrease in settlement times compared to legacy systems. But wait, there's more. Utila's multi-party computation wallet platform, processing $8 billion monthly, integrated XDC in May 2025, following an $18 million Series A led by institutional investors. This enables banks to custody XDC assets through familiar interfaces while automating treasury workflows. Here's where it gets really interesting. While crypto Twitter debates regulation, governments are quietly building on XDC. Brazil's FERPRO, the federal technology company, integrated official government data verification directly into XDC workflows, enabling KYC, AML verification, and biometric authentication using immutable blockchain records. The Saudi central bank's Project ABA expanded in 2024 to include public settlement legs on XDC for cross-jurisdictional remittances. The pilot processed 9,200 simulated oil invoice settlements totaling $3.08, completing each delivery dash versus dash payment. in under 4 seconds while adhering to ISO messaging standards. Central bank interest is exploding, with 87 countries representing over 90% of global GDP exploring CBDC's hybrid architecture and regulatory compliance. XDC's hybrid architecture and regulatory compliance create natural pathways for government digital currency pilots. Singapore's financial regulator granted sandbox licenses to XDC-based trade finance networks, validating compliance with local AML and data privacy law. The tokenization numbers will shock you. Global RWA issuance on XDC surpassed $45 billion by July 2025, encompassing debt instruments, equity representations, real estate shares, and commodity tokens. But here's the breakdown that matters. 65% remain in institutional custody wallets, 20% circulate on secondary markets, and 15% support DeFi liquidity pools. Hzezoai's partnership with XDC launched 4 money market fund tokens representing ABRDN, Fidelity, BlackRock, and State Street, totaling over $11.05 in tokenized assets. This collaboration is projected to catalyze a potential $16 trillion in tokenized RWAs by 2030, according to industry forecasts. That's nearly the size of the entire US stock market. Carbon credit markets found their blockchain in partnership with a UN-affiliated coalition. Over 200,000 carbon credits, representing 1 million metric tons of verified emissions reductions, were tokenized on XDC. IMT Senses upload real-time project data directly to XDC subnets, providing immutable proof of compliance for environmental auditors. Regulatory approval is happening faster than most people realize. The European Investment Bank initiated a €500 million tokenized green bond issuance on XDC in mid-2025, marking the first time an EU supranational institution leveraged blockchain for large-scale financing. EGS reporting data publishes automatically on-chain, accessible to bondholders and regulators in real time. XDC's interoperability strategy separated from single-chain maximalists. Cross-chain bridges connect XDC to Ethereum, Polygon, and Binance Smart Chain, using multi-signature threshold relays governed by regulated entities. Bridge transfers settled within 2 to 5 minutes at under $0.01 per transfer, making cross-chain operations economically viable for institutional transactions. Layer 0's integration in November 2024 unlocked liquidity migration from Avalanche and Binance Smart Chain, prompting a 41% jump in total value locked across XDC DeFi pools within 2 weeks. The network's integration with Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability protocol enables secure Oracle feeds and data transfers across multiple ecosystems. The developer ecosystem exploded with a $50 million grant program launched by Shinfin Foundation in early 2025. GitHub Analytics showed 230% year-over-year increase in unique repository claims. Projects include ChainSight for institutional compliance monitoring, Certiflow for maritime logistics certification, and TrustGate for federated identity management. Staking participation demonstrates institutional commitment. 17.4 billion tokens, roughly 46% of circulating supply, are locked in staking, creating tight free-float dynamics. Over-the-counter desks report institutional clients hold 410 billion XDC as ISO collateral units for settlement operations. Here's where this gets really wild. XDC developers are implementing zero-knowledge proof modules for Q4 2025, enabling confidential smart contract execution for syndicated loans and high-value bond issuance. The Proof of Associations upgrade allows masternodes to verify encrypted transaction payloads without revealing contents, critical for maintaining negotiation leverage in institutional deals. Wholesale cbdc corridors represent the ultimate prize. Cross-border settlement using ISO 20022 rails could reduce foreign exchange settlement times from days to seconds, unlocking trillions in trapped liquidity. Climate discussions between major Southeast Asian central banks already reference XDC architecture for bilateral cbdc frameworks. The derivatives revolution is starting. XDC introduced tokenized interest rate swaps and futures contracts in June 2025, enabling institutions to hedge tokenized fixed income exposure directly on-chain. The first live bilateral swap between European corporate treasuries settled in under 10 seconds, with 60% netting efficiency gains. Portfolio managers are taking notice. Digital asset allocations specifically targeting infrastructure protocols now include XDC exposure, representing 2 to 5% of institutional crypto portfolios. Research desks at leading prime brokers produce weekly reports tracking staking yields, network activity, and integration announcements. The competitive moat is widening. While Ethereum struggles with gas spikes and Solana debates uptime, XDC delivered 99.999% network uptime over 18 months, with consistent sub-$0.001 settlement costs. Empirical benchmarking by London Stock Exchange Group rated XDC highest in their deterministic finality index. Token velocity metrics indicate healthy usage. The 30-day transaction value divided by average supply stabilized at 2.7, showing genuine utility beyond speculative holding. Network inflation caps at 0.5% annually, with unclaimed rewards burned, creating deflationary pressure as usage grows. Here's what most people miss completely. While crypto discourse fixates on TVL wars and retail trading volumes, institutional tokenization corridors operate behind compliance firewalls. Banks don't tweet about ISO 20022 migrations. They issue controlled press releases and regulatory filings. The real alpha comes from understanding infrastructure before it becomes obvious. XDC's quiet integration into institutional systems powers applications that rarely surface in mainstream coverage. Each integration represents a node in converging institutional tokenization strategy. By the time retail notices, the system will already be operational, and XDC will be serving as the silent backbone. Those who understand the institutional requirements at the architectural level, rather than layering compliance as an afterthought, will capture the lion's share of enterprise deployment. The evidence is overwhelming, from BlackRock's stealth partnerships to central bank pilots. From $45 billion in tokenized assets to 99.7% validator uptime, XDC network has transitioned from trade finance experiment to the foundational layer of institutional tokenization. This isn't speculation, it's infrastructure. While everyone chases narrative-driven pumps, the real transformation happens through regulatory compliance, ISO 20022 messaging, and hybrid architecture that institutions actually need. As tokenization scales from pilot to production, networks that anticipated institutional requirements will dominate. XDC's combination of deterministic finality, standards compliance, and proven enterprise partnerships positions it as the backbone for programmable finance. The corridors are built, the bridges are operational, and institutional money is flowing. Don't just watch the revolution. Position yourself ahead of it, because when $10 trillion asset managers move quietly, they're not hiding. They're claiming territory. Hit that subscribe button and notifications if you want to stay ahead of institutional crypto adoption before it becomes mainstream. The future isn't coming. It's already here, running on infrastructure most people have never heard of. When everyone finally notices what BlackRock was building, you'll already be positioned. Act accordingly.